Nutrition impacts 85% of anyone's physical transformation or development. So for all you athletes out there, remember, 85% comes down to nutrition. The remainder is attributed to physical activities like weight training, cardio, running, speed, agility, quickness type drills. 85% though is directly tied to nutrition. So you have to be fully aware. You have to have a good understanding of your nutrition. And the sooner you can get on a very good, I want to use the word strict, but very disciplined nutrition type of routine or regimen, the better. And quite frankly, you'll be ahead of the game. During today's video, we're going to be going into the next phase or the next step of building the ideal and creating that nice foundation, that fundamentally sound athlete. So we'll be covering nutrition in more depth. We'll be covering some of the basics, a little bit more detail. I'll provide some examples to kind of help you guys better understand what I'm trying to share with you all today. And let's go ahead and get started. I'll be covering nutrition in detail, broken down into 3 components. The first one is calories. The second one will be macro and micronutrients. And the third will be hydration. So starting off with calories. So at the very high level, calories, what you need to understand as an athlete, or if you're a parent of an athlete, we want to make sure that you have 2 formulas that you're aware of. The first one is your basal metabolic rate, or your BMR. And the second one is going to be your DEE, or your total daily energy expenditure. So let me go ahead and explain each. So your BMR, and actually this applies to anyone, but I'm going to be specifically catering this more towards the athlete. Okay. So the BMR, you can think of that as essentially the minimum number of calories that you need to consume to essentially like live, right? For your body to function. It's basically the energy, the calories that are being burned at rest. So let's say, there are formulas out there. You can Google them. I can actually provide a link, on the video so you guys can go. But there are formulas for calorie calculators that you punch in your information like the age, your gender, your weight, your height, and then how physically active you are. And it basically calculates your BMR. So, just for simplistic reasons, let's use a BMR of like 1,800 calories, for example. So in this case, if your BMR is 1,800 calories, what it's telling you is that you need a minimum number of 1,800 calories just to basically function day to day and for you essentially to be in a good, healthy baseline level, right? You're not going to be in a deficit and you're not going to be in a surplus. You're basically just a minimum number of calories, right? With no essential impact either way. So being aware of this is very important, right? Because now you're aware, which means you're educated, which means you will now consider that with your decisions and your thought process as far as your diet is concerned, right? And then you take it a step further and you layer on the second one, which is your TDEE, or your total daily energy expenditure. Again, there's a calculation for that as well. And you can simply Google it. Again, I'll provide that information as well. And what you can do is you insert all that same information you inserted for your BMR, but you will also incorporate a little bit more information about your physical activity, because what this does is it essentially layers on any additional calories that will be as far as being burned through physical activity. So now if you take someone's BMR, let's say it's at 1,800, and your TDEE comes out at like 2,200, because you're estimating to be physically active for certain portions of the week or the days, or et cetera. Now it comes out to about an average of 2,200 a day. What that's telling you is that that is the recommended minimum number of calories in order to basically offset, right? So again, to be right there, right at that baseline. So once you figure those 2 numbers are very powerful, because now, let's say those numbers I'm applying to myself. Now let's say I'm trying to lose 10 pounds, for example, and my TDEE is 2,200, my BMR is 1,800, but I know that I'm going to be physically active. I'm going to be doing cardio. I'm going to be doing weight training. I'm going to be doing physical activities throughout the week. So now in order for me to calculate my numbers, I come out to be in a deficit of about, I don't know, it could be about 2,100, 2,000 calories. Again, it all depends, right? how aggressive I want to be with my weight loss, again, you should lean on having someone like a coach provide that information, because you don't want to be too aggressive, because that's going to impact a lot. It's going to impact your energy levels, it's going to impact your weight loss rate, it's going to impact all your metabolism, it's going to impact a lot. So you don't want to be too aggressive, but I'm just showing this as an example. And then on the flip side, if I'm trying to add 10 pounds, for example, 10 pounds of muscle to my frame, and my TDEE comes out to 2200, so now I got to be on surplus. So now it's my BMR is 1800, but I know that at the minimum to be baseline, because of my physical activity, I want to be at 2200. So if I want to be in a surplus, again, determining how many calories I need to incorporate day to day, so then I can eventually start adding the weight gradually, right? You don't want to be too aggressive either, because if you're too aggressive, that obviously has negative impacts as well for those similar reasons. There's an average of about 3,500 calories that you need to either consume or reduce if you want to lose a pound of weight. So for example, let's say that I'm trying to lose weight. They estimate about you need to reduce or be in a deficit by a minimum of 3,500 calories per week in order to lose 1 pound of weight. So that averages about to 500 calories per day. So usually that's the base, that's the average, that's the benchmark, right? You want to be at least 500 calories low or in a deficit to lose a pound a week. But that's an example. And then on the flip side, on the surplus, right, you would have to be a plus 500 in order to add a pound per week. That equates to about 3,500. So just trying to share these specifics. That way you kind of start doing a little bit more research. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Again, drop them down in the comment box, or you can reach out to us on the website at hyttraining.com. Click the book now button. And again, we can have further, more detailed, specific, unique, customized conversations for yourself, for your son or daughter, or whoever you're inquiring about, in order to learn more and make sure you're making the right decisions. But that is, first and foremost, it starts with calories, right? Because calories is the main measure that will determine if you add size, maintain size, or lose size, right? It starts and ends with calories. I believe it, and I always say it to anyone I speak to, it's a calorie game, right? So then you drill down into a little bit further detail once you start at the very top with calories, and you go into what type of calories to consume, right? Now you focus on quality, right? Or non-qualitative calories. And now you go into macros and micros. So for example, micronutrients are your vitamins and minerals that are essential for your body to function, for your organs to function, for your immune system to be strong, to help boost and maintain your metabolism. They're very important, like vitamins, B, C, D, etc. Those are the examples of micronutrients. And then your macronutrients, or your macros, are your three, basically your carbs or carbohydrates, your fats, so those are the three. So again, understanding at the very top, like you calculated, you're estimating your calories, whether you want to gain or lose weight, then you drill down, okay, am I consuming enough micronutrients on a daily basis? Obviously that's important. Number two is what type of macros. Now I got my carbs, my fats, my proteins. What types of carbs, fats, and proteins are needed in order to maintain a healthy digestive function or system, to make sure that I'm not, consuming inflammatory foods, to make sure that, obviously they stay within my calorie range so I can lose weight, to make sure that I'm satisfied, right, and I'm full, to make sure I have the right energy levels. So now you start drilling into all those things, and you start figuring out, okay, here are my types of proteins. It also depends on the type of or nutrition that you are either wanting to consume or can consume. I know some folks out there have some allergies and some dietary restrictions, so obviously you got to factor that in as well. But you start figuring out, and you start, drilling down into, okay, what type of carbohydrates or carbs, again, what type of fats, what type of proteins. Do I want to be on a higher fat, keto type of diet? Do I want to, do all these? So you have to start considering all these different things, right? So for athletes, again, this is going to be specific for athletes. You want to make sure you're consuming a high number of carbs per day, right? They're important for three reasons. Number one is energy, right? You need that energy, right? Especially, how active you're going to be, whether you're on the field or the court, or even in the weight room. If you're you want to make sure it continues to maintain your digestive system. Very important. And it also helps you develop properly, your body develop properly, as well as especially if you layer on resistance type exercise. So carbs are very important for athletes. I wouldn't say it's higher ranked than another macro, but carbs are extremely critical for athletes. Let me just emphasize that. The second one is proteins. Again, they're not in any specific order. Proteins obviously helps restore, repair, muscle and your body and all that, recover. And proteins obviously are vital. And then you layer on your fats as well. Again, equally important. So those are your 3 macros. So again, just starting to think through, right? And start making some informed decisions, some, ideas that you can kind of like work through with your coach, or even with myself, or with anyone that is helping you, or you can do some research. There are so many different resources out there, but again, I'm just trying to make sure you're aware. So I think the key here is to make sure that if you're an athlete, that you're consuming, again, at the very top, enough calories, number 1, right? Especially depending on what goal you have. Number 2, making sure that you're eating the 3 macros, but for sure, you want to definitely put some emphasis and some priority on the carbs. Carbs are very important for athletes, okay? And then you want to make sure that, now I'm transitioning into number 3, is being properly hydrated, right? So when you work out, when you train, when you play a sport, when you're doing physical activities or exercise, you're gonna, obviously like sweat, and you're losing electrolytes through that process, right? So you want to replenish those electrolytes, make sure you're properly hydrated. So you'll notice that a lot of sports drinks have sodium in them and potassium, right? Because it helps restore and replenish your electrolytes, which for athletes, again, this is specific to athletes, it's very important. Right? So you want to make sure you're consuming enough sodium as well to help you make sure you stay hydrated and you replenish your body properly. Again, the only thing I would caution is a very popular drink out there is Gatorade. And I'm just going to mention it out, very openly. I personally am 100% against Gatorade. I know they have the lower sugar one, but the normal Gatorade, the regular Gatorade has very high sugar, has a ton of sugar, and I think that will actually hinder any progress and actually not really help you. Even though it's helping you rehydrate, I think it has more outcome than positive. So me personally, I would personally recommend athletes staying away from Gatorade. Too much sugar. There are other forms or ways of getting hydrated, but Gatorade is not. Obviously water, but again, you want to make sure you're consuming sodium. So, coconut water is good, although some coconut waters have high sugar. But, again, you want to do it in a natural way. Just be cautious of how much sugar you're consuming, because it definitely has a negative impact in your progress and in your development. All right, I'm going to give you a few examples of some good quality macros to help you guys, give you some ideas. So proteins, I would say, steak, lean ground beef, turkey, chicken, fish like salmon is really good for you. It's high in omega-3s, which helps from a recovery and inflammatory piece. So those are some good examples of eggs. Whole eggs are great as well. They have omega-3s as well. And then your fats, you can find fats in a lot of the stuff that have proteins. Like, for example, steak has good fat, eggs have good fat. You can eat some, nuts, like walnuts, almonds, those types of ideas. Nut butters, like almond butter is great for you. So those are some examples of good fats. And then lastly, some good examples of carbs would be rice. Like jasmine rice is personally my go-to. I love it. It tastes great, and it's really good from a carbohydrate perspective, not inflammatory, and has really good nutrition facts in it from a carbohydrate piece. So again, there's just oatmeal, cream of wheat are two other good examples that come to mind. So again, just some ideas to kind of start having you kind of start thinking through, having some ideas start circulating through your mind. So that way, again, the key here is I want to bring some awareness to all of you. That way you guys kind of start thinking differently, right? When it comes to nutrition, to food, to, again, remember, look, at the end of the day, it boils down to this. You get out what you put into your body, right? So if you're going to be putting quality nutrients into your body, they will not only physically show, but they will also, show on the field or the court, right? All of it is tied back, right? It's all connected, right? And that's the biggest key that, as I go through these discussions and sharing and bringing some awareness to all of you, I want to make sure you guys understand everything is connected. And remember, 85% is nutrition. I cannot emphasize or stress that enough. 85% is nutrition. That's how important nutrition is. I mean, you can work out 7 days a week. I say this to everybody. You can work out 7 days a week, 3 hours a day. I mean, you can be the hardest worker in the room, as The Rock says, right? Every day, you can be consistent, never miss a training session. And if your diet or your nutrition is not on point, if you have a very bad nutrition, if it's trash, I mean, if you're just eating nothing but, I mean, garbage, not literally, but you know what I mean, non-qualitative type food, junk food, or apologies, I mean, just fried food and, you know, all these things, right? If you're not eating good quality foods, I don't care if you train 3 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, you're not going to look great, you're not going to perform great, and you're not going to develop in a great way, period. I mean, you can say this to anybody. I don't care. It's the fact. It's a fact. So it's very important. You guys understand how critical it is to have your nutrition on point, to be locked in on it. But again, it starts with being educated, being aware, start making informed decisions, and start thinking through these things that impact your nutrition, especially when you tie it and you connect it to what goal do I have? What do I ultimately want to accomplish? Right? So that is where it's going to help you get there. And again, it starts at a very young age. You know, I see a lot of athletes, especially when they get to the high school level, and these athletes have so much potential. A lot of them, I see them in person with my experiences as a coach, as a strength coach for most recently for a football team in high school. I see it on TV. I see it to, you know, ex-players that I've spoken to. I mean, I see it everywhere. And I see so many good athletes that have so much potential to play at the next level. Some want it, some don't. But the bottom line is they can play there. They're just so underdeveloped and undersized for the positions they play for. And it's because they do not put emphasis at a young age with nutrition. So what happens is, you know, I've heard it from firsthand from like college coaches in different sports, is that, you know, when you get, for example, you get to college as an athlete and you get a scholarship, they put you on a meal plan, right? And all these athletes have no idea like anything about macros. They don't understand calorie consumption and what their metrics should be. They don't understand any of this. So they're just basically eating what they're told to eat, which is helping them, right? From a development energy. It's still not even the best of foods, but it's better than what they were consuming before. But they have no understanding, no knowledge, no awareness. And that's what I'm trying to give you all. I'm trying to give you that early on, so that way, if you're a young athlete, you can start thinking through this and being ahead of the game. And again, it's about developing that edge and having that differentiating factor to set yourself apart from the rest, right? That's what you want to do, right? You want to help get there, but stay there, right? I keep saying that. You want to stay there. And for parents, for young athletes, right? I by no means am I saying that a parent should put his son or daughter like at 6, 7, 8 years old in a very strict diet. That's not what I'm trying to share, or that's not my message or my ask. What I'm trying to make sure parents who are watching this see is they start doing the same thing, right? They start being aware, they start being educated, start thinking through these things, and moderately start making more informed decisions and making sure, like maybe they could just start at baby steps, right? At a high level. I just want to make sure my son or daughter is consuming enough calories to make sure that, you know, it translates to, you know, for them, you know, having the right energy levels and playing well on the sport that they're in, or in the sport they're in, things like that, right? Again, it's a gradual process, but it all starts with just developing awareness, getting some information, becoming educated. And again, it will completely change the way that you look at everything, especially from a nutrition. And it'll probably help you put more emphasis and more value behind nutrition. And it'll help you, if you're an athlete or a parent for your son or daughter, to really start attacking this early on, to developing that edge and having that differentiating factor that's really going to help set them apart as they continue to grow and develop in their athletic careers. All right, that's a wrap. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you supporting the channel. Hopefully you guys found this topic of nutrition interesting. You know, I can talk about this all day. For me, it's fascinating, and I have a strong passion for it. So I definitely, you know, enjoy speaking to you all about it. If you guys have more interest on it, again, let me know, comment down below, or reach out through the website at hyttraining.com. Click the book now button, submit your information, and we will get back to you. And we can definitely either exchange emails or even have a call to discuss or help any of you in more detail. There is also a youth sports nutrition program that I'm offering at hyttraining.com that is geared specifically for the athlete, right? And it's going to be an intro to everything that I just covered, but it's going to be customized to yourself if you're an athlete or a parent, to help, either if it's a parent or an athlete, to help kind of start the process and start developing a more customized approach to nutrition. So if you're interested, check it out. But, this kind of brings it to a close for now. Again, I appreciate you all, and stay tuned for more. The next video that I'll be posting will be about training, and that'll kind of put a wrap up to, developing the ideal athlete, developing that foundation, that good, fundamentally sound athlete, to get to differentiate yourself, to set yourself apart, to make you help you get to the next level, but also stay there, right? So I'll be talking about training, different methods of resistance in more detail, the impact that has on you, talking about getting into training at a young age and all these different things. So again, thank you all, and talk to you all soon.